Hi, Taurus rising sign. Welcome back to my channel. Here is your weekly forecast starting on the 20th of May until the 26th of May. This week is a massive personal as well as financial recalibration, while your chart ruler Venus is super busy. It's quite mesmerizing what Venus is doing here. She will trigger the nodal axis from your third house. She will be clashing with Neptune. She will be connected to the nodal axis. She will be connected to Mars as well. And Mars is ready to hit your ascendant in your first house, but squaring Pluto in your 10th house. So trust me, this is a wild ride. Taurus rising, you are the masters of stability, material reality, endurance. And you hate to be rushed. You absolutely hate unpredictable changes. But right now, the universe is turning that electricity up, to max right in your own backyard. So from May 20th to 26th, 27th, we are stepping onto that cosmic crossroad, that karmic crossroad. The nodes of fate are sitting at the final critical degrees of your fifth house, the house of passion, and your 11th house, the house of global networks. So this week, the personal planets are going to trigger this axis like a tripwire, forcing a final audit on your creative dreams and your social connections. To make things even more intense, Mars is sitting directly in your first house, the house of identity, pushing you into a high stake power struggle that you cannot hide from. So let me walk you through day by day. On the 20th, Mars is actually have that sextile with Venus in your third house. That's quite a grounded personal momentum. Mars is giving you raw physical stamina, drive, that unyielding motivation directly through the body. So it gives you a lot of strength. Meanwhile, your chart ruler Venus is sitting in your third house and it communicates, it writes, it makes daily connections. So this is a super good day to pitch your personal projects, write important emails, negotiate with local clients, execute a physical demanding goal. Your presence is so magnetic. Your voice carries practical weight. So I would take advantage of this day because it just sounds good, isn't it? Now, May 22nd is huge. We've got five planetary aspects going on. So this is a high velocity day, really, in the cosmos. And it's targeting your personal income, resources, and your deep psychological roots. Why? Because Venus, on one hand, is trining your north node. And that's a karmic light, green light for your aspirations. A fated conversation, maybe with an influential group, a sudden opportunity to monetize on, a creative project that might be bringing you certain type of a breakthrough, a fated alignment with a powerful person, making an alliance with someone. So it's really about you having to make connections today. Now, Mercury is making a sextile to Saturn in your 12th house. And this is about auditing your bank account, looking at legal documents, looking at your pricing, looking at even the design of your website. And then we can start working behind the scenes, looking at even the structure of operational workflow, looking at the security system, for example, do I need to back up my data, my computer? Maybe I want to be making an investment, for example, into a new phone, into a new laptop, something that is potentially more robust. The Sun and Uranus conjunction also happens in your second house on the same day. That's a shocking news regarding a source of income and unexpected financial breakthrough. Of course, this could give us a bit of a shopping spree as well. We can have radical realizations that completely alters how you value your own time and your talent, or old financial limitations is getting shattered in a way. Also, on the very same day, Neptune is actually making a square to sorry, Venus is making a square to Neptune. That's a bit of a warning flag there for documents. If we are sending an email, we can send it to the wrong person. For example, if we are signing an agreement, we can miss tiny details there. Or if we are making a connection with someone, it can lead to certain type of disappointments or disagreements as well. Something that could look like the dream come true, but the underlying structure is somehow still disorganized. So we can regret something with that later on. It might be about someone who promises, for example, a sister of yours promises something to you, and unfortunately, it is not delivered. Something is disorganized, or someone. We need to be able to, wait a little bit for that fog to lift up. And that's going to be happening 2 days after, 3 days after, once the sun is in sextile to Neptune. Because Venus is making that square to Neptune. That causes you the fog there, and then the sun comes around and then acts like a torchlight. And it's gonna show you where exactly and why exactly we might have got disappointed. Mercury goes out of bound in your second house, so your mind is operating completely off the grid. I think financial strategies are thrown out of the window. Business ideas could be coming. Negotiations connected to money are going to get wild, brilliant, completely outside the box. I think you've got an unfiltered approach to demanding what you are worth. Potentially, this could increase your finances, but there's a high voltage mental energy here. And we need to be able to use that to pitch, for example, the financial terms, to put that into kind of like a motivation to get those money in. But make sure that you check the data though, because it's very easy to kind of, yeah, make a mistake there. Now, the sun in your second house, like I said, makes that sextile to Neptune, which is going to be allowing to that fog to lift up. Yes, lift up. But the most important part is that Sun is actually making a square to the nodes, and that's a crossroad. The South node in your fifth house has made you kind of like very reliant on micromanaging creative projects, hyper-analyzing your hobbies, staying in your comfortable creative shell, where of course you can control everything perfectly. But the sun in your second house is demanding you look at the practical material asset and share your work on a larger scale. Maybe it was very easy to kind of hide behind the success of your children, for example. The question is, what about my success? Because you back, for example, you back your children and you want them to achieve your dreams. But this chart is telling you that I am meant to be having dreams also, or hiding behind creative perfectionism just to escape the fact that you can be on a world stage. Mars on your ascendant is helping you by trining the South Node. So, meaning that there is a physical drive, a raw stamina. Those are your greatest assets right now. Use that intense personal presence to step fully into that 11th house North Node path, which is about group alignment and your goals. That yes, I can achieve my goals. I can even think bigger. So stop playing small with little solo projects. What if we went a bit more global? May 26th is the most volatile day of the entire week or even the year, really. Your physical identity goes to war. It is putting on the boxing glove and it is ready to box, or beat up someone at work with Pluto in the 10th house. So we've got a square happening. So this is a power struggle between your personal autonomy and your physical directions with that major corporate system, that boss, that ultimate career public legacy. So you are trying to stand your ground and dig your heels in, most likely stubbornly, Mars in Taurus. Meanwhile, Pluto in your 10th house is demanding ruthless revolution and devotion in your professional career structure. And that might be an authority figure, that might be a corporate system. And trying to force a framework on you or kind of like dominating you. And Mars is getting really angry. Mars is kind of burning out here. Mars is trying to protect its personal reputation in a way, and maybe it's ready to burn the corporate bridge down. The more Mars in Taurus is told to do something, most likely the more resilient it kind of becomes. Thankfully, the Sun in your second house trines Pluto at the exact day, on the exact day. So your escape hatch is your clear understanding of the material value. Don't engage in aggressive, physically, like this physical standoff, or screaming match of Mars and Pluto. Instead, step back into your second house power, use your financial leverage, use your talent, use your raw logic, your clear communication regarding assets to reframe that scenario. It somehow tells you that your true power lies in your tangible worth, of your objective values, not in that stubborn kind of shouting, screaming match. Now, Venus in your third house squares Pallas Athene in your 12th. So, this is your daily local communication and the desire for kind of conversational harmony are clashing with that hidden psychological boundary or kind of like the behind the scenes maneuver. So somehow it feels like that, we again, Venus in the third house is social niceties. And maybe there is a behind the door, behind closed doors reason for it. But it's a square. So somehow it shows that eventually it's not something that we can keep up in the long run. Um, after this intense warfare on the 26th, um, things are going to start cooling down a little bit on the 27th because Sun is going to be making a sextile to Vesta in your 12th house. And this is when you sit down and then you start focusing on your finances, on your own self-worth. You dedicate your daily revenue goals and your business assets to this very specific sacred private mission, a spiritual standard. You're just gonna convince yourself in a way that there's no point in having all these arguments. I just have to focus on me. I'm gonna focus on my private inner world. I'm gonna focus on my self-development. I'm gonna work on becoming financially independent. Even you might say that I'm gonna rest a little bit because I'm exhausted. And many of us are going to get exhausted from that Pluto Mars square. What it really feels like is that the entire week is an initiation for your personal identity and your material independence. Every single high stake transits right now from that unexpected financial shock or that brutal career standoffs of Mars Pluto square is showing you exactly where you are holding on to old versions of yourself out of the fear of losing control. But the universe is demanding that you clear out this petty creative perfectionism of this past, step fully into your massive collective networking power, because next month Uranus is coming and is going to start squaring your nodal axis, creating that massive sudden disruption in your personal values or your social circles. If you do the raw internal sorting right now, June actually, I think, can bring you financial and professional breakthroughs. And that's why I definitely wanted to talk to you about these nodal axes today, as in depth as possible, because I think this is the key. Now, let's just do a bit of a summary here. So, Mars Venus sextile. This is about receiving good news. This is about having an idea and then being able to make money out of it. This is about you becoming more attractive. This is about, with Mars in the first house, I have to go after that potential money or success or person that I want to kind of catch. This is about, with Venus, for example, ruling your sixth house and ruling your first house. Let's say I want to get healthier. The first step is I'm going to start walking. And that's what Venus in the third house kind of represents. Venus is though squaring Neptune. So that's a vision there that which potentially that might not be the most realistic one though. Or, maybe I'm gonna send by mistake a flirtatious message, for example, to my boss. Or I'm going to be keep calling them a particular number, thinking that it's one person, but unfortunately it is not. It's about fantasizing. And we need to be careful with that. Now, Venus, though, makes that trine to North Node, which in modern astrology would be a Neptune ruled North Node, right? But it's about, okay, I have a dream and I can make it happen. I get the green light. I get the kind of the message, the intuition that I'm on the right road. It's about you meeting new people, expanding your social circle. And one of those people can become beneficial in your life. Mercury has gone through the same journey just like Venus does this week. And it did it last week. So it was squaring the nodes. Right? And now it is sextiling Saturn. And at the beginning, you might have struggled with communication or how to talk about money and how to kind of pitch that self-worth of yours to your boss, to your friends, and so forth. Maybe you really looked at things subjectively, or maybe you had a bit of a narrow-mindedness going on. But now I'm ready to kind of, with few words, talk about my self-worth, my financial situation, because that sextile to Mars is actually helping you. You may be just are ready to talk to your inner saboteur, and then you are ready to give a name to that person, and then you're gonna say to her that, "Hey, girl, I know you are here. I know what you want, but I'm not afraid of you anymore." This is obviously that Mercury made a trine to Pluto as well, which is about you making a decision about a massive career change, for example, or you're trying to influence someone, which is super good. And now the Sun is going to be making exactly the same journey coming up. So the sun is making that conjunction to Uranus, and it feels like that you become bold. You make bold choices regarding money. So maybe you are ready to leave your work behind. Something that is boosting your confidence as well. So good luck, Taurus rising, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.